doing today?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Excited to be here, and today I want to share a little about AI coding modalities. We have the IDEs, CLIs, cloud. This is going to be a pretty high-level overview. Talk about the trade-offs. Talk about how to use them, how we use them. Really just like a learning experience for everyone right now, I think. My name is Yang. I'm the CEO and technical co-founder of a startup called Fonzie. We do AI recruiting. We help engineers find jobs at AI startups. We work with some of the hottest, fastest growing seed, Series A, Series B startups in New York and SF. And so, what we do is we've built a better way to find jobs for engineers. Previously, I was a software engineer at Oscar Health and Google before that. If you want to reach me, my email is yang@fonzie.ai. So, little high level, there's been a new term that's been coined this year called vibe coding. And then what is the difference between that and AI coding? People kind of like put that in this similar bucket. So vibe coding is development that's done fully with AI tools. And so you don't need to be an engineer to vibe code. You don't need to be technical to vibe code. It's a conversational way to produce software. AI coding is some similar techniques, but it's actually based on regular software development. So it's rooted in how software engineers develop software and then applying AI to get leverage on top of that. So there's a big spectrum of tools here. So on the one hand, you have vibe coding tools like Replit, Bolt, Lovable. These are getting a lot of traction. In the middle, you have maybe some more conversational, but still engineer-focused tools. And then, fully like IDE-based tools that are just designed for engineers from the ground up. So today we're going to be talking about AI coding, not vibe coding. I assume this is definitely a more technical audience who is interested in writing code. And I want to talk a little bit about the different tools that have come out in the past few years, and especially the past few months that have changed how engineers are writing code. So IDE, CLI, cloud are the main ways this has emerged. Just curious, based on the audience, who's using an IDE, like AI editor, like Cursor? Okay, cool. Who's using something like Claude Code, so working in the terminal? Yeah, and who's using web agents, cloud agents right now? Okay, so a good mix. Some people are using multiple. Great, so yeah, just here to talk a little bit about each of them. So, IDEs, this started with GitHub Copilot. This is where it all started. You put the AI directly in your code editor, usually VS Code or fork of VS Code. This is what engineers are familiar with. I would describe this as pair programming with AI. You make a suggestion, AI writes some code. Or fancier autocomplete, some people like to call it. This is where the first really AI coding things really got traction. And this is the most control, right? You're writing code, AI is writing code, it's side by side, you prompt it, you autocomplete. You're still working in the code base primarily. The next modality that came out was CLI. So these, instead of you work in a terminal, you work in a command line, instead of working in the IDE, you're talking to the AI, you have that conversation, and then AI makes changes to your code base on behalf of you. And in order to make this work, it basically needed access to better tools, it needed access to reasoning, so you could give it very sort of vague instructions and it would read your code base, learn about, try to figure out what your intent was, and then translate that into code, right? So a lot of reasoning, a lot of back and forth tool use, that agentic loop. This has also taken off very quickly. The first thing was Claude Code in February, and it feels like it's been out forever, but this is a relatively new thing in our toolbox right now. And then finally, taken to its logical conclusion, I guess, we have cloud. So this is a version of the CLI tool, but it's unlike the CLI tool, which is still interactive and like real time. The cloud one is more asynchronous. You can kick off multiple agents in parallel. This is, this was the first real release was OpenAI Codex Cloud, and so you can have basically an army of AI agents kind of doing work for you at the same time, right? So, but very quickly, all the AI coding providers have very quickly released all the modalities as well. So, we started, it seems crazy, 4 years ago with GitHub Copilot. OpenAI had their Codex, which confusingly is the name of the model that powered Copilot, but also their product, which was an autocomplete, also in 2021. Cursor sometime 2 years ago. And then this year has been this crazy explosion of both the CLI and the cloud agents. And yeah, I didn't even know all these things existed until I was like putting together the slides. And obviously all the players have released all the modalities, all the products. And so really, if I were to say what are the differences between these, it's not that drastic. Some of them perform maybe a little better in one modality versus the other. Like Claude Code started as a CLI, so it's probably better for that, better tuned for that. OpenAI Codex, was first to cloud. Cursor was first IDE, was the biggest player in the IDE space. So, but really, I would encourage everyone to kind of like experiment and see which one works best for you as well. But they're all available everywhere, basically today. And so my advice is like, which one should you use? And the answer is yes. Yes. This has been, okay, so the answer is that it depends on what you're working on. So cloud is the most autonomous, right? It's the one with the least back and forth, the least amount of feedback. So it's good for easy bug fixes, copy changes, color changes, things in your backlog that are low priority. You don't care if it gets it right the first time, but it'd be a nice surprise if it did. So cloud is very good for that. You can kick off a lot of small tasks without opening a code editor, right? That's really nice. CLI, I would say, is probably a good place for core feature development. Things with well-scoped features, things where you can have a conversation with the AI, plan out what you want to do, and then have the confidence that it can execute on that plan correctly. And then the places where the IDE, I think, really shines are things where you need to do some active exploration. You don't actually know what the specs are. You want to explore things. You want to try a lot of different ideas very, very quickly, right? The latency with the CLI or cloud is just much higher, so you can tweak colors like you normally would in an IDE, but it just helps you type faster. So that's like, a place where I think the IDE is still the best. Another place where people like to use IDE, I think, is when it's outside of the typical training data. If you're not on the happy path, if you're doing something weird or unusual, chances are the AI is not going to be able to write large amounts of code correctly on its own. So for things that are pretty specific or niche, it's hard to get as good results out of the CLI and cloud. Yeah, so it depends. It depends on your task. I think there's room right now for all of the different modalities, and these categories will also change over time, right? As the models get better, as the harnesses that power these things get better, I expect more and more projects to move up the chart, right? Things that used to require being done in the IDE will be able to be done in the CLI, and things that really required active management of the agents in the CLI, maybe you can start one-shotting more easily in the cloud. So as capabilities emerge, I expect this chart to also evolve as well. Cool. Kind of want to talk about some typical workflows that we use at my company to develop software, and stuff we've seen at some other companies as well. This is what I call like sort of the default, the happy place as of like November 2025. A lot of development kicks off in the CLI. There's a conversation, there's planning, there's like with AI to really get the scaffolding, and it writes a lot of the big pieces together, a lot of the boilerplate, a lot of the scaffolding, like putting all of that together. And then you go into the IDE to really fine tune specific things, change specific lines, tweak things, tweak copy. It's faster to maybe like do the polish in the IDE before your feature gets released. So I would say this is probably the default, the way to do it. As of course, this is all going to change in like 6 months, but this is kind of like a happy medium right now. This one, since we're in New York and we take the subway, I call the commuter. This lets you, kick off tasks in the cloud. So instead of having that conversation in a terminal, you can actually just have that conversation in an app or in a browser on your phone. And so you can have some back and forth iterations with a cloud agent on your phone in the subway. And it's, it won't be immediate. You don't need perfect internet connection. The answer comes back when it does. But you can kick off a lot of the work. And then once you get to the office, then you can actually get the branch, all the work that's been done, put it in your IDE or your CLI, and then actually continue developing and polishing before that code is ready for production. So this is like a brand new way to develop software. I can now write code on the subway, which is, without pulling out a laptop, which is kind of like a incredible new way to approach it, right? And then finally, we have what I call the agent manager. And I think this is directionally where things are going to go, right? As the AI becomes more capable, and as we become better at prompting and guiding the AI, you'll be able to do more and more tasks in the cloud. And so, this is kind of the dream, right? Instead of managing a team of junior engineers to kind of do work, you'll be able to manage an infinite number of cloud agents to do all your tasks, right? So you'll give them context, you'll kick them off. Occasionally, you'll need to manually clean up the code and polish it before release. But this is sort of like the true leverage of the 10x engineer, is having this swarm of agents that are like constantly working in parallel in the background in the cloud. So we're not there for today for most tasks. The AI is certainly not capable enough, but I think this is where things are going. Cool. Thanks.
Any contrarian points of view? I personally, I quite feel the sitting on the train, writing some code in my phone, and then arriving at work and the code being written. I love that. And I'm not sure if that's the dream. I think the dream is sitting on a beach. Really. That'd be my ideal. Yeah, any questions? Sorry, I'll just jump over.
Hey, I love what you said, but I think that there's something I haven't seen quite yet, which is like a tooling dedicated for front-end QA, and adding that to the overall workflow as part of the process of refining AI developed code. I find often that my front-end work isn't where it needs to be, and then I'm like having to copy-paste images in and manually debug. I'm literally trying to set up like a Playwright sub-agent right now to see if I can get that working. But have you seen anything in that space that can help me with my QA pipeline?
Test-driver, Playwright? Yeah, any others?
Yeah, I think in terms of the agentic solutions, there are tools out there like Devin, which will which was one of the first AI coding agents that basically will run the code and then QA it, and then if it's wrong, it'll like debug it itself and stuff like that. That probably works for like more functional QAing. For visual QA, I'm not sure I've seen a good example of AI with like good visual taste, like fixing your designs yet. At least not yet.
So in the third example, you said we're not really there yet, right? In this multiple agent orchestration, what would it take to get there? What are we missing?
That's a good question. I think part of it is getting better at, part of it is going to be the models, like understanding intent better and understanding context of the business. But sometimes that's not really going to happen without us also providing a lot more context, whether it's like agents MD or cursor rules, right? Like giving the agents need more business and product context is sort of the thing that I'm really finding. There's also probably just going to be better workflows around how we plan and maybe make specs. That's like one answer that's I think getting pretty popular is like being more clear up front of what the AI should do, and so that you can basically like have it one shot.
I think you're right. The spectrum and stuff I've found has been very useful for keeping it on Rails, but I would say that I work for Tesla. On the subject of visual stuff, I just remembered a friend of mine wrote a video game library in Love 2D, and he wanted to be able to QA it. So he wrote an agent that looks at the screen and runs it at like 0.1 frame a second and analyzes the screen contents to see if the player is moving, if the aliens are moving, or that. I think if we can get to the point where the AI can look at the screen and know exactly what it's seeing, I think that helps. If someone's interested in that, I can find the link. It's on GitHub. But there's another question here.
Yeah, regarding the commuter method that you were talking about, where I know that you can call Claude from GitHub, just at Claude. Are you doing this? Have you tried doing this from, you said on your phone, like from the Claude app on your phone? Or I'm just curious, what ways have you been doing this?
Yeah, so so Cursor has a cloud mode. Cloud agents, I think they're called. OpenAI background agents. Sorry, can't keep up. The OpenAI Codex Cloud has a version, and Cloud Code Web launched I think like 2 weeks ago. So they have another UI that's not just the janky GitHub issue thing. Yeah.
I've used a tool on that topic called Typing Mind. I don't know if you've heard of that. You can just Google it, Typing Mind, and you can run an agent on your laptop as like a gateway from Typing Mind directly to your machine, and have an MCP that has access to specific folders on your file system. And so on my phone, I can sit and have a conversation with an AI, like in Typing Mind, and that uses my keys to get to Claude and Gemini and all the others. And it can create files on my file system. So it actually writes the code on the file system and then commits that to Git. So I can just have the conversation on the phone, either verbally or, yeah.
So you don't need your computer to be open?
Well, you need the computer where the files are going to be. It's got to be written somewhere. But yeah, you could put that in a cloud instance somewhere, like a AWS or a Droplet or somewhere. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's tried the VS Code tunnels feature, and then you can access your VS Code from whatever your dev box is in the browser, even like from anywhere. So I can use my regular VS Code setup from my browser. Until it's blocked, exactly.
Yeah.
I do that the cheap way with Tailscale. So Tailscale is ace. Sorry to.
Yeah. These
take that another direction.
the cloud stuff is nice. They've like kind of abstracted all this. They spin up sandboxed VMs basically for you automatically, and so you never even like have to think about any of that. So definitely super convenient.
Yep. On my way.
Hi, Yang. Thank you for the presentation. So my question is about hiring. As you said, Fonzie helps with hiring in terms of prospects. So I'm a recent graduate looking for jobs as well. And my question to you is two parts, basically. First, how does Fonzie help with that? And what kind of AI implementations do you use? And second part of the question is, I've myself tried to build some innate and automations or like AI-related solutions to like find postings or like scrape website data, concise it, and use it to, you know, create custom resumes or things like that. Do you think these kind of workflows sit in the workflows that you've mentioned, or do they get like better as we move with time and all of these AI tools keep showing up?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours about Fonzie and how we're different. I have 5 minutes, great. I'll try to keep it short. I think I'll keep it pretty high level instead of diving too deep into the specifics of our product or anything. But fundamentally, I think what we're seeing with recruiting is AI being applied to a non-AI world. So, you know, we have job boards, we have job postings, right? This is historically how people find jobs. And all of a sudden, AI is really good at writing you 100 cover letters, tweaking your resume based on job description of a bunch of companies, and, you know, kind of making up stuff that you haven't done just to match the job description. And so it's created this crazy problem where there are thousands of applicants applying for every single open role. There's so much noise that the recruiters either spend a week going through it or just give up, and because most of them are irrelevant or they're hallucinated resumes. And then the candidates don't hear anybody, don't hear it back. So now the candidates are using AI to scale how much applying they're doing. So it actually just creates it's a flywheel or death spiral, however you want to call it, of just bad experiences for both candidates and companies. And so Fonzie, fundamentally, what we're trying to do is cut through all of that, try to figure out who's actually good, who's actually on the market, and then figure out which companies are actually hiring. And then, you know, that's it. That's the marketplace. It's much, much smaller, but much, much higher signal than, you know, a job board. So we're thinking about how to do this properly from an AI native perspective is the short answer. Second part of the question, I think, was like, how is AI going to affect this? I think AI has a huge role to play. Like, the existing system is just, again, the death spiral is already happening, so it's only going to get worse. We have to, like, I think, reinvent how people hire and how people find jobs. And so, you know, we're trying to approach that from first principles with an AI native focus.
Any other questions that don't relate to death spirals? Keep it positive. Okay. I think that's everything. If you did anything else, thank you, Yang. Thank you so much.